What's up, guys, and welcome back to Tech Plant. Basically, my plants have been out of the plant room for way too long, so I reset up the grow tent, and we're going to try and quick set up a fast terrarium. I don't even know how to describe what we're about to do here, but this will be kind of a test run for what we're going to do in the plant room, so let's check it out.
Alright, so a lot of you already know that I did tear apart the entire plant room, and I am trying to build a giant terrarium, basically, probably about like a 16-foot long one with rocks and all kinds of cool stuff. However, it's taken just a lot longer than I expected just because there's a million other projects ahead of it. Still working on it, but this is going to give me a great opportunity to test some concepts out that I will use in the larger terrarium room. I've had this grow tent for about a year now and I never use it, so finally I'm going to put it to use because I can actually enclose some humidity and heat in here and just keep the plants like in a better condition, because right now they're just in my cold basement with really zero light because I don't have grow lights above them at the moment. Now, I'm not sure if this is really advisable to get the grow light so close to the top surface. I did use some metal to try and keep it from like touching the fabric, but I like to put the lights as high as possible so I get the best spread and the most like upper room, if that makes sense. I already had to trim the legs on this grow tent a little bit to make it shorter just to fit in my basement. So the higher the light, just the more I can pack in there and the more it can climb the walls, and you'll see how that works later. I'm somewhat of a freak about water, so I really wanted to try and waterproof this the best I can. It does come with a giant bowl tarp thing that is supposedly waterproof. However, I'm not really trusting with anything waterproof, so I did add 2 layers of plastic on the bottom to sort of make a bowl on top of that. This should help as things like attempt to perforate, whether it's like perlite, wood chips, or really anything. So 2 extra layers of protection I figure should help. We'll see how that like holds up in the long term. But I am making sure that it goes up about a foot on all sides, because that way I can have the plastic walls, which I'm going to install next, run into the actual bowl, and this will help contain all the water there. For the actual walls, it's kind of nice using a grow tent because there's a lot of structure to actually clip this onto it. I have a bunch of these little clamps. You can get like 2 packs from the dollar store, which is crazy. I probably should get a few more too because I ran out, but it's a good deal for just like upholstering things up, especially the carpet, the plastic, everything. It just worked out really well actually. But all this plastic just needs to be long enough to go from the top all the way down into the bowl. Make sure you're putting the plastic walls inside the bowl, and that will keep the water directed from the walls down into the bowl of plastic, if that makes any sense. This was actually pretty easy to put up, and I'm only going to do 1 layer because I'm going to cover it with carpet, so nothing should perforate this. I would suggest trying to do this all in 1 sheet, that way you don't have any seams you have to worry about, and just make a giant U shape. And always give yourself a little extra slack with the plastic when you're measuring it if you're going to do something like this, just to give yourself some room for error. I also did find that the actual structure itself, the top poles are almost like clips, and you can pinch the plastic up in there. Same with the PVC. Just kind of get creative with how you're attaching things, and it should save on some clips because I ended up using most of them for the actual carpet part. Now here comes the actual interesting part, and this was actually sort of a pain to get set up just because I didn't have enough clamps. It's big and it's heavy, but I'm trying a new material for the whole living wall thing. I know you guys have probably seen content like that, but for the giant terrarium, I plan on using this to cover basically every surface of plastic and the walls, so that way plants can grow up it, and it will also protect the plastic. So this is like a cheaper trial run, because if I'm going to do this in the big room, it's going to cost a few $100s, and I kind of want to start with like a $75 investment and see if it actually works. And actually there will be some footage later that will show you how it works in a much smaller environment. But this can be found at Menards. I bet you almost any hardware store. This is just like an outdoor carpet. It's pretty nice because it has almost like a felt backing with like fuzz on the front. So I think you'll see like roots grow into it pretty well, and you will see footage later that will sort of prove that out. If I knew this would be up long term, I would definitely add some sort of structure behind the walls to give the carpet places to sit on, so there's shelves and places to set plants to grow up. But because this is just a temporary test for now, I'm just hanging it on the walls, and we're going to see what all starts to climb up the wall. I did throw some IKEA boot trays upside down actually in here just to sort of help things from perforating the plastic, any sharp points or anything, because they're nice and round, and I have a bunch sitting around from the previous grow room, so hopefully that works out pretty well. But you can see here all the plants are looking pretty good in here, and with the update you'll see that they've grown quite a bit. But this is really nice because it's easy to spray, get wet, the humidity is going to stay high, it's going to have a lot of heat compared to what my basement normally is, and hopefully we'll see things start to grow. A lot of this stuff is getting quite expensive, which isn't a big deal, but it is nice that this video is a sponsored video. So let's take a look at the video sponsor. This beautiful garden bed is all thanks to this video sponsor, Landguard. They were kind enough to send me a few garden beds. I set some up at my house, and this one I set up at my parents' house. I was able to replace this old, worn down raised bed from many years ago to something that looks a lot more aesthetic. The Landguard garden bed is actually really easy to assemble. If you can screw a nut onto a bolt, that's literally all you need to be able to do, and it goes up very simply. It took a lot longer for me to disassemble the old garden bed than it did to actually assemble the new one. Another really nice aspect about the Landguard garden beds is they reduce the amount of panels by just making them larger. I notice a lot of competitors give you tons of smaller panels, probably so they can pack it in a smaller box. However, it results in way more screws and, in my opinion, a much weaker design. This thing goes together really easily, and I chose a 24-inch tall one just because my parents are getting a little older, and so it's a lot easier to work in a garden bed that's much higher up. You don't have to bend over nearly as much or be down on your knees. Another huge perk with the 24-inch tall one is you can literally recycle your old garden bed in the bottom of it. We kept all the wood and put it in the bottom because it can break down, and not on camera, we also added some sawdust and other sort of refuse piles on the property. It's a great way to clean up any brush piles you have sitting around or anything else that's organic that you're looking to get rid of. You can already see it's a major upgrade to the actual space, and it looks a lot better in my opinion and a lot cleaner, and it should stay that way for many years. Again, a huge thanks to Landguard for sponsoring this video and a previous video. This is huge for the channel because it's allowing me to invest in the whole tissue culture thing, and it's a fantastic product, as you can see. And if you're looking for a bigger, deeper dive into it, I do have an entirely dedicated video that you can check out and learn a lot more. If you're interested in these garden beds, I will have links in the description. They have a ton of different products, so I'm sure there's something that can fit the lifestyle you're looking for. And thanks again to Landguard for the sponsor because it really makes a lot of the future videos possible. Like I said before, here is a little sneak peek. I am building a lab for doing tissue culture. This is all going to be part of the next like V1, V2 TIE Constellation saga and much more. So again, some of that lab equipment is very expensive, so having a sponsor is a huge plus, and I'm extremely thankful for it. But let's get back to the actual update and see how the plants are doing. Right off the bat, you can see it's a lot more fuller. I think they've been in here for a little over a month at this point, and a lot of new growth is coming out. And I'm actually really happy about it. I wasn't sure how well this room would work, but it has worked pretty darn good, and I'm not losing leaves anymore like I usually do. The plants are just adding leaves, which is wonderful. Here's probably the most important part of this entire build, and that is seeing if things actually rooted into the carpet, and you can see they have. This has been a complete success. I've only been misting this randomly as well. With the real full setup, it'll be an automated misting like every day, if not twice a day, which I think will help even more because this thing can dry out pretty easily since I'm not like watering consistently. But you can see everything is rooting in very nicely. It is doing exactly what I want. It's climbing up this very well, holding itself in very well, and it's even flowering, which is fantastic. So I think this material is going to be a go for the actual big terrarium setup I want to do, and I'm really happy I did this test because it confirmed my thoughts, and I think this is going to work wonderfully well. Just looking at my plants is a huge difference. Everything is a lot more healthier. The leaves are a lot better looking, a lot less like beaten up or dried out. I have noticed that the plants are retaining more leaves as well with the higher heat and the higher humidity, and this makes me super excited because the upgrades I'm doing to the actual plant room will allow me to get a much hotter, more humid environment, and I think my plants are just going to do so much better, and I'm excited for that because for the last couple of years they sort of just struggle in a lower humidity, cooler environment because these are tropical plants after all. So a lot of this testing has been well worth it because I think I finally nailed down the materials and what I'm going to do for the final build of the big terrarium room, and I think it's going to make a huge difference and be extremely successful. At least I hope. Here's a little sneak peek for those of you who have made it all the way through as well. I am growing a pineapple, and with the added heat and humidity of another small grow tent, I finally got it to make a pineapple. I'm super excited. I will have an entire grow from start to finish, which is going to be super cool. I think you'll love it. And the giant pothos is doing fantastic in this hot, humid environment. It's insane what a transformation it's made. But there'll be a full videos on this. I just want to show you guys a sneak peek. I did want to show you guys one more trial run of this little carpet stuff, this outdoor carpet, and in a smaller terrarium setting, it actually stays quite moist and orchids are rooting into it. There was a few times I let it get a little too hot and a little too wet and some rotted out, but I think this material is really going to be pretty awesome for most builds, and the cool thing is it's not very expensive. I want to say it's like 56 cents per square foot, which is really cheap in my opinion compared to some of that grow felt and other things. So hopefully you guys will find value in this. I'll have some links in the description. But yeah, it's been pretty cool testing all this out. Hopefully very soon this will look a lot more like a giant terrarium. Well guys, that pretty much sums up this video. I hope you enjoyed the grow tent update just to see how things are going and some of the other updates I had as well, especially the pothos and pineapple. Super excited, and I'm so excited that the carpet's actually working. Again, another special shout out and thank you to Landguard. Their sponsorship of the previous video and this one is huge for the channel because, again, I'm investing in a lot of tissue culture stuff and it is expensive. So big shout out and big thanks to them. They're making tech plant things possible. As always, guys, may your plants grow strong and healthy. Keep experimenting. I'll see you next time.